as I became more immersed in his readings, I recognized that he really is a person who is much more than somebody who's a Muslim. He's a person of the world. He believes that this global community can be much better and much more working with each other, no matter where we are in the Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere, East or the West. My name is Ira Colby. I'm a social worker, and I am also Dean of the Graduate College of Social Work at the University of Houston in Houston, Texas. We have approximately 370 master's students and 40 doctoral students. And among the many projects we have in the college is the Gülen Institute, which allows us to have intercultural dialogues. It allows us to send students to Turkey, and allows us to broaden our understanding of the global community. Hizmet'e movement is very important, I think, from both a social work perspective as well as a global perspective. It brings together the idea of working with others and the idea of building a civil community, brings the idea of working with people who are different from each other to sit down and talk with each other. It emphasizes education for all people, not just for some people. And it also promotes social justice for everybody throughout the world. Mr. Gülen is an incredible individual. I was not aware of him or his work until I met with individuals from the Houston-based Interfaith Dialogue. And from there, I discovered a man who has a vision for the world in terms of what we can be and what we should be. As I talk to people in the United States who also are not familiar with Fethullah Gülen, I discuss him in relationship to Martin Luther King Jr., who had the idea that all people are brothers and sisters, and all people should be working with each other and should be helping each other, that all people should be afforded education, quality education, not just bare minimum education, but boys and girls should be allowed to go to school, encouraged to discover and be engaged in the sciences and the math so we can move forward as a community. His idea around healthcare and ensuring that all people have equitable and fair and quality health is very important. And so as I became more immersed in his readings, I recognized that he really is a person who is much more than somebody who's a Muslim. He's a person of the world. He believes that this global community can be much better and much more working with each other, no matter where we are in the Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere, East or the West. If we did a country count in terms of where is the movement located, I've heard numbers that range from 140 to 170 different nations throughout the world, where there's schools, where there's hospitals, where there's been relief efforts, where there's natural disasters that have taken place, and 𝐀𝐭𝐤 goes in and provides direct aid and services. It's a movement that knows no borders. Borders are geographical constraints that we as humans have put together to separate us. What the movement has done is it breaks down those borders and essentially says we are one nation state of the world. And as such, we have responsibilities to work with each other, for each other, and on behalf of each other. I think it represents true Islam in terms of what Islam is about. I think, sadly, going back to September 9/11, there was a miscaricature of the whole Islam world in terms of what the faith believes in and what the people stand for. And literally, I believe Islam was hijacked by a small group of people. And I believe what the Gülen movement and Hizmet'e and what this has done throughout the world, it's shown us what the true roots are of Islam, and that is serving others, helping others, promoting education, and working together with other religions, where we cross religious divides and we work with each other. And we try to create harmony in a secular world. To be honest, when I look at what Hizmet'e is doing, and then I look at other faith-based or other social movements in the world, I don't see much difference once we get down. On the surface, there's clear differences in terms of what people say, but when we get down to the actual interactions of a person to a person, be it in a school, be it in a disaster situation, where in the United States we have the Red Cross, for example, and people go into a community, and we don't ask questions when there's a disaster, if there's been an earthquake or a flood. We go in and we do what needs to be done. And that's what I see within the Hizmet'e movement, is that people go into various situations, and people don't say, I'm here representing the Hizmet'e movement. I've never seen that. I have never seen somebody say, we'll do this if you join the movement. There isn't what we call in the United States a quid pro quo. I'll do this if you do this for me. It's people working with people, and when we look at social movements around the world, that's what this entails. It's not about selling something. It's not about promoting something other than civic responsibility and my responsibility to other people around the world. I'm actually a product of interfaith dialogue. In the 1960s, Pope John was elected as Pope of the Catholic Church following Pope Pius, and I'm a Roman Catholic. And one of the pieces of Pope John, who, by the way, was just made a saint in the Catholic Church, and who was also a cardinal in Turkey back in the 1950s, one of the key elements of Pope John was interfaith dialogue, and this was what he called the ecumenical movement. And back then in the early and mid-60s, we used to sit down, Catholics with Protestants and Jews and Buddhists and Muslims, to talk with each other. And the key was for us to learn from each other about each other's faith, but also that while we might have different ways that we celebrate our religion or we have different beliefs, we all had the same ideas about people, and that all people needed to be treated with respect and dignity, that everybody is our brother and sister, and it just is a happenstance by birth that I was born in Western Massachusetts and you might be born in Turkey, and that I'm raised as a Catholic and you're raised as a Muslim. And if we can get past that and we can begin to talk with each other, we find out we all have the same hopes and dreams. We all want our children to live in a peaceful society. We all want our children to have a quality education. We all want our children to live in safe neighborhoods where they can go outside and play. We all want our children to have a better life. And that cuts across all religions, all faiths, all nations in the world. And that's what interfaith dialogue does. It allows us to break down our barriers of stereotypes, to recognize that we have much more in common than we don't. I've been very fortunate to have visited a number of schools in Turkey as well as here in the United States. And obviously, as somebody who has worked in a university now for 39 years, I have a very strong belief in education. I believe that every child should be afforded a quality education, that every school should be a citadel of learning, and that every child should have the opportunity to study. And it doesn't matter if it's a boy or a girl. As we've just seen in Nigeria, where those girls were kidnapped because they were going to school, because they were learning how to read, and because they were learning about science. A few years ago, we had that young lady, Malaya, who was, they tried to assassinate her simply because she was going to school. People need to go to school. They need to have education so that they can develop fully as an individual and help our communities grow in the future. From a selfish perspective, I want an educated younger generation, so when I retire, they will be generating and making our community a very better place that will help me. So from a selfish perspective, I want education for all people. But at the same time, education opens up our eyes and broadens us to understanding other people. And everybody should be afforded an education. And it just doesn't stop at elementary school or college. Education is lifelong. And we need to think about when people are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond, what can we be doing in education? How can we be encouraging people to continue their studies, learning other languages, learning about the history of the world? Because if we know the history of the world and what happened yesterday, we can better prepare for tomorrow. Education is pivotal for world peace and social justice. Sadly, poverty knows no geographic borders. We have a horrible poverty here in the United States. I've been to Turkey and I've seen the poverty there. I've been to Africa and I've seen incredible poverty. No matter where we go in the world, there's poverty. And what Hizmet'e has done is that it's taking this on, trying to move people out of poverty. The idea that tens of millions of people are living on less than $2 US a day. Tens of millions of people in this world, that's unacceptable. The idea that there are tens of millions of people that do not even have safe drinking water. They can't go to their faucet. They can't go to their well and get safe water. That's unacceptable. And so it takes movements like the Hizmet'e movement, and it takes other movements around the world to work together to try to figure out how do we end this. Because if we don't eradicate poverty, if we don't eradicate disease, we will never ensure social justice for all people. And I'm reminded by the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. when he said, an injustice towards one is an injustice towards all. So if we allow people to remain in poverty, that's an injustice to that person. It's an injustice to you. It's an injustice to me.